What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Breakdown Sportscast. I'm your good friend and host, Corey Willis. Hope everyone out there is doing well on a Sunday. Hope you guys enjoyed a great weekend of college football. Week 6 is in the books. Chris and I are here hanging out with you guys. So overall, guys, I hope you guys are doing well out there. Enjoying your Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, wherever you're at out there. As always, guys, we appreciate you all listening to the show. You know where to find us. We're on multiple social media applications, of course. Definitely follow us on all of our social media platforms that we're on. X, Instagram, TikTok, at BD Sportscast. Find us on there. If you want to listen to all of our past and present episodes, you can listen to us on a bevy of your favorite podcast applications, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, you name it. Wherever you like to listen to your podcast, we're there. And we also appreciate you guys if you're tuning into the live stream on our official YouTube and Twitch channel at Breakdown Video Gamecast on Twitch. Of course, you can see the description below on the video. So yeah, guys, we appreciate you guys' support as always with the show. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. It's definitely important for Chris and I as we build this community going forward throughout the college football season and beyond. So yeah, definitely, guys, do that. It's very much appreciated. As always, guys, you know who I'm with. I'm with my good friend and co-host. You know who he is. He is Chris Bolton. Chris, what's going on, man?
Nothing much, nothing much. Just another Sunday filled with fantasy football heartbreak. So, ain't nothing different. Nothing different. Feel heartbreak like a few of the teams that we're going to discuss that had some heartbreak over the weekend because it was quite the Saturday, Corey, if I would say so myself.
Look, Michael Jackson had one of my favorite songs, "Heartbreak Hotel," Chris. And look, I have to tell you, I'm sure there was a lot of, or a couple of college football coaches over the weekend that listened to that song.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're going to get into it. It was a tough weekend for some teams that had high hopes heading into the season. Um, and now it's so interesting to see how the landscape is looking as we're basically, at the halfway point of the season. So we have we're close at being at the halfway point. It is week 6. A lot of teams have played off. There's 5 games, but we're getting the read of how a lot of these teams are looking so far, Corey, and look like some people that we thought were contenders turned out to be some pretenders.
You ain't never lied. I think you're absolutely right, Chris. We talked about it. Once you get around week 6, week 7, you start to find out who are the actual teams that are in the hunt, and who are the teams that just been pulling your leg since the beginning of the season, which before that in the preseason. And how people have been talking about the preseason in terms of rankings out there. It is definitely a different story that's told once you get around this time of the season.
Yeah, for sure. So it's time to continue to tell that story and put it all out there for everybody because it's quite a story to tell. I would think so, Corey. It's some drama, some stuff went down on Saturday.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right, Chris. So, it is what it is. I mean, that's college football for you. And hey, a lot of teams, they know where they're at this point of the season, and it's all about finding out where you stand and how you can control, what you can control to try to make up for that lost time and those failed attempts in some of these games in order to try to get back into it. So still a lot of football left to go, but it is a good chance for us to see where people are at. So and this week showed that.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah. Well, partner, are you all ready to delve deep into week 6 of the college football season?
Let's do it.
All right. All right. So, week 6 is in the books, folks. We had a couple of games out there, but this game in particular, I gotta scoot up for this one, Chris. This one brought the entertainment level at an all time high. Who knew? UCLA brings in Penn State. Penn State just lost that game a week ago to Oregon. Trying to bounce back, Chris, against UCLA, a team that going into this game had no head coach. They're out there with an interim coach, Coach Skipper, and boy, what do you know? Coach Skipper and crew, they skipped all around Penn State because Nico Iamaleava looked like a Heisman Trophy frontrunner in this game. 42-37 was your score in this one in the end, Chris. UCLA took down Penn State. I'm still in shock, Chris, with what I saw on Saturday. What are your thoughts about this one? Because the country was definitely shook up by this one. It's kind of think Chris's voice is kind of out.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. We can hear you now. We
Okay.
hear you just
Okay.
fine.
Yeah. All right, good. So I was just saying, man, it's quite the win. I mean, this is almost unprecedented stuff that we are seeing. This team was Penn State was a 28-point favorite. Um, UCLA was winless. This is like the third time in the AP poll history that a winless team knocked off a top 10 team. So an 0-4 team at that, that tells you just how rare this feat is. And now Skipper has as many top 10 wins against Big Ten opponents as James Franklin, the team, the coach that he knocked off. His first week as a head coach, he's already caught up to James Franklin with top 10 wins in the Big Ten. So
How about that one?
run with that information as you will. But seriously, Corey, this is huge for UCLA. We're going to talk about the winners first. Um, Huge for Skipper and putting his case in as why he should be the possible official head coach of this team in the future. Rick Neuheisel's son uh, was doing his thing, first time calling the plays, stepped in, and then he was getting some of the plays in late. This was all new to him, having to call the plays and get them to the QB. He said in his press conference that he had a few instances where there's some miscommunication, but you couldn't tell that first half. They were just putting points on the board and took it to Penn State. Um, but this team looks like a team that can be a problem. They look rejuvenated. Looks like the guys have a lot of fight in them, and this is a team that can be dangerous when firing at all cylinders, doing different things that they weren't doing earlier in the year. You could tell the offense had some new looks, some new wrinkles to it, and it definitely paid off. Nico looked like the talented prospect that he is. You finally kind of saw his talent come to life in the UCLA jersey for the first time, and then Penn State. we've had our questions about Penn State all season long, Corey. We said they haven't played elite competition, and this offense had its struggles against lower level opposition, let alone in Oregon. And we saw how long it took for them to finally get points on the board and had to make a comeback against Oregon. The same thing happened in this one. It had to come roaring back in the second half. Penn State, this is bad for James Franklin. I'm curious to see how this team responds because I don't want to necessarily write them off. But if this is who you are, you're not going to the playoffs this year playing like this. They have to figure some things out. Katron Allen played well, but only had 8 carries. I think you're going to need to start giving Allen the ball a little more. Go with the guy who's toting it and putting you in position to succeed. We'll see what adjustments Penn State makes, but this is one of the worst losses, I think, in program history. I mean, you losing to a winless team, and you're a top 10 team. You already had questions about winning. Can you win the big one? Now we got a question: can you win the little one? Because you lost to a team that has no victories. So this is tough for James Franklin, man. He's going to have to really rally the troops because this can just take the spirit out of a team that was coming off with had hopes of a national championship game and was right there a couple plays away from making it to the national championship last year.
Yeah, you're right, Chris. Just what a blunder of an opportunity in Penn State in this one. Like, man, it's one thing to lose against Oregon, at home. Oregon's a really good team, playoff team for sure. But it's another thing of going on the road. You're a double-digit favorite against a winless team in UCLA, and this is all you do. This is what you produce out on the field. I mean, Drew Allard, he was just looking shook. You can look in his eyes, and it wasn't just him. To be honest with you, the whole team just looked just lethargic. And who is that predicated on? It's predicated on the coach, the head coach, James Franklin. To me, he has these guys with the same, the different demeanor as him, and that's not good. That is not good. And yeah, I don't know what I don't know what you can do now if you're a Penn State fan seeing this. Like this is a collapse. You had all of these high hopes this season with getting to the playoffs, getting back to the playoffs, potentially, getting into a national championship. That's gone at this point. You still got to play Ohio State, and those guys are rolling. They are balling. It don't get no easier for you. It gets harder. So, yeah, I don't know what happens now, Chris, after this blunder of a game, but if you're James Franklin, man, you are probably feeling that seat get pretty hot now after what's transpired the last couple weeks on the football field. You're just not producing those wins that a lot of folks were hoping that you doing. You brought back people. You brought back Drew Allard. Looks like Drew Allard regressed. So I don't know, Chris. It's tough. It's tough to be a Penn State fan out there. I know their fans. They want to be in the conversation every year in and year out. But this isn't it. What you saw yesterday.
Yeah, no, this team, they have a lot of work to do. And It's a good example. This weekend is a great example of why we don't necessarily need, and we've said it before on the show, we don't need preseason polls. We don't need these preseason rankings. So this team was the second ranked team, number 2 team in the nation preseason by the AP voters. And we see how things are looking at the moment. Um, no wins against any Power Four teams to this point. And it's week 6, you know. This is a tough one. And we may have, I think we found out that Penn State, this team is they have talent, but they aren't in the conversation to win a national championship by any means. Can they rally? This is a real gut punch. And it's one thing to lose to Oregon, it's another thing to lose to a winless UCLA. Now let's see if you can reset. The team has the pieces to be competitive against anybody they play with. Can they put that product on the field? We'll see. I'm not confident in them doing so with James Franklin as the head coach, but he may. And then maybe they just lose to Ohio State. They beat everybody else. We'll see. That's a possibility. But there's a lot of work that has to be done. So let's see if Penn State can hit the drawing board and bounce back.
We will see. We will see. I mean, look, we're going to talk about another team in just a little while about bouncing back and winning big games. So, this game was supposed to be a sure bet. You did not capitalize on it. So, we'll see what happens. But one last thing I will say, Chris, and that is for UCLA overall. Tim Skipper and, Jerry Newhouser. And I was looking at his father, Rick, on CBS Sports. Just elated to see, how well they coached this USC Bruins team into a victory. Yeah, I could definitely see Jerry Newhouser and Tim Skipper being around there for a while. If they can rally this team in the way that they did yesterday, I think this team will be A-OK going forward.
Yeah. I mean, they look like a whole different UCLA team.
Yeah,
this was a complete different vibe on the sidelines, energy level. And you see those guys; they love those coaches.
Right.
When they won, they really lifted them both up.
Yep.
They so this team still has a lot of ball left to play, a lot of fight in them, and I look for UCLA to be a dangerous out every Saturday going forward for anybody in the Big Ten. You're going to have to really come with it, because these are some younger coaches that you may have been held back with what you wanted to necessarily do earlier this season, not being in the position that you are currently in as an interim coach or as the guy calling plays. Now this is your chance to let loose, and it looks like the guys like what the coaches are bringing to the table and trying to the game plan that they come with. So we'll see, how things play out, because anything can happen when you have a talented young coaching staff and a talented 5-star prospect at QB who we saw looked like the guy that we anticipated him being at UCLA. You got the QB, you got the coaches. Hey, just let the ball, just put the ball out there and see what happens, because that's the 2 pieces you need to be successful on any team.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with you, Chris. And just hearing Nico in the post game press, in the post game speech, he was just talking about how he was just happy to be there at UCLA. Like, he wants to be there. It's one thing of he left Tennessee. It's another thing that to go through what he went through in those first 4 games up to this point. is it is big. It's a big confidence booster. You saw it on his face. You saw it on his team members' face. Like they look like they are locked in. They love what Jerry Newhouser and Tim Skipper are preaching to them. They look like a totally complete, just a different team overall. Just a different team. And hey, sky's the limit for those guys. So it was great to finally see Nico, have an upbeat mood for once. It was definitely a bittersweet moment, I'd say, for him and for that fan base for sure.
Yeah, no, he definitely needed this win. Program needed this win. So we'll see what goes going forward. What happens?
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, Chris, big win for UCLA. Tough one for Penn State. We'll see what happens with both of these teams moving forward this season. But anything else you want to add to this game before we move on?
Nah.
All right. All right. Well, moving along, folks. We had Miami taking on Florida State Saturday night. This game it looked like Miami was going to run away with this game, but Florida State did start to try to make a comeback, but it wasn't enough in the end. Miami won this game 28-22. Took care of business, and at the ending speech, Chris, on ESPN, Mario Cristobal, he was like, "Hey, we are the Florida national champions. We have beaten everybody. We have beaten Florida. We have beaten Florida State. We have beaten South Florida. There's no one left."
Yeah. Hey, Miami's here.
They here.
The Canes are here. The U looks to be back. Carson Beck looks like a first round draft pick. He's making the most of this situation. It's looking real. I'm not going to say it's exactly like this situation, but it's looking real kind of Joe Burrow-ish. After Joe left Ohio State and got to LSU and everything came together that second year for sure. He was solid that first year, but that second year is when he took off. Well, shoot, this is year one for Carson Beck at Miami, and it looks like this is all that will be needed. 'Cause he'll be back on draft boards going forward, come April, with the way he's playing. He's just slinging the ball downfield, looking like the best prospect in the transfer portal from this last off season. This Miami defense is just relentless. Castellanos had nowhere to run, whether it was someone reading him on the key when he tried to do a read option. He's like, well, can't. If I keep it, I'm getting tore up. If I give it to the running back, he's getting tore up. I mean, it was nowhere to go. This run defense was just tough that Miami possesses. And the Canes, you can say them and Ohio State are looking like the two best teams at the moment. I mean, just the football that they are playing, both sides of the ball. Miami will redeem themselves this year. They are making the playoffs this season, Corey. I think I can say that. I think we can say that.
I think so too. There's no way. Look, if you implode in this late stage, and look, we're heading down the stretch now. We don't get that many. We don't get that many weeks in the college football season to enjoy like the NFL. But yeah, if you implode at this late stage, my gosh, that would be terrible. But for the most part, I don't think that's going to happen. I think this team is a clear-cut favorite to try to win it all this season. They have a really good team. They're doing some really good things over there in Miami. And, shout out to Mario Cristobal. He figured out pretty much all of the deficiencies from last season. Got that taken care of. And it's not like they were a bad team last season. They just didn't finish. This year's Miami, they're finishing games. They're doing what needs to be done to still be at the top. of college football right now. So, um, hey, shout out to them, and hey, we'll see what happens with Miami going forward as they try to get to their quest at an ACC championship, something that they haven't done. Hell, the last time we saw that was like early 2000s, wasn't it?
I think so. I want to say it was 2002.
Yeah.
It
So,
was a long time ago, 2002 or 2003.
right.
It's been a minute.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll definitely see what happens with Miami. As for Florida State, yeah, you lost to Virginia, which now doesn't look like a bad loss anymore. Virginia's a pretty good team, and so hey, they took care of business against Louisville. Um, yeah, this is your second loss. Now you gotta look in the mirror now and really see we're a lot better than last year. We're not last year, but we got some work to do as well. So if you're Mike Norvell, you got a little soul searching to do as well.
Yeah, yeah. You came out of the gate swinging, getting a big win against Bama. Now you lost to Virginia. Now you lost to Miami. Definitely got to regroup um, because there's still a lot to play for. A lot of football left to play. Anything can happen, as we know. So, but it's that one game season. It's got to take it one game at a time. So we'll see how Florida State does bounce back. But they definitely have to improve the passing attack. I think that's one thing we can say for sure. We know Florida State can run the ball well, especially with Castellanos and what he brings to the table. But you need some more weapons to emerge besides Deuce Robinson. And if that happens, then you can play with anybody. Florida State has some guys, and defense is nice. But until you can get this passing attack a little more polished and refined, I think Florida State's going to be in some tough battles week in and week out, Corey.
I think so too. So yeah, they got some work to do. So we'll definitely see what happens going forward. I mean, look, the rest of the season is pretty favorable. I'd say outside of that Wake Forest game. Wake Forest been they can get you. I think this season has proved that. You can just ask Georgia Tech how that one worked out. So I'd say with Wake Forest, you got Florida at the end of the season, and I'm sure Clemson's going to try to figure out something to stop Florida State. So um, hey, you got some work to do, and at this point of the season, you got to figure it out because hey, everything's still in front of you to try to be a two-loss team potentially to try to make it in. You just got to win the games or when needed. so,
Agreed.
so yeah, man. But a good win for Miami, and we'll see what happens with them moving forward. But anything else, Chris, you want to add to this game before we move on?
No, sir.
All right. Moving along, we talked about Florida State. Let's go ahead and move on to this game, Chris. Florida hosted Texas on Saturday, and look at that. The Gators treated those Longhorns as bait. You see it. If you're clicking in on the show, folks, you probably saw the thumbnail, Gator bait. And those Longhorns, they were the bait. 29-21 was your final in this ball game, Chris. DJ Lagway had a great day, and this defense from Florida, this whole team from Florida, just showcases that they have talent, and when they're put in the position to win, that they're a really good football team, Chris. What were your thoughts over this victory from Florida on Saturday?
Well, in our preview show, we brought up this game and how Florida will win. And it played out the way I anticipated. Um, the swamp was swamping. Texas was all over the place offensively with the penalties and the running game. The rushing attack is just absent. MIA on a milk carton, missing. We're looking for the run game in Texas. This is a team that's just very heavily reliant on the passing attack. And Arch Manning, he's not that guy. I don't think he's somebody you can just rely on to just sling the rock down, just play after play. And it's just been tough for Texas to really get in that groove offensively. It's a really good defense, but the offense is really holding this team back. Um, and I think a lot of it has to do with Arch Manning. And for someone who has been sitting in the position behind Quinn Ewers for a couple of seasons, there's a lot of mistakes that I feel like he makes that really shocked me as someone who technically a redshirt sophomore, but you're a third-year player. We can basically say you're a junior. And he looks very raw, Corey. A lot of protection calls being missed. Texas O-line has dealt with a couple of injuries. But the kind of pressure that I feel like that is these guys coming through unblocked, I think that falls on the quarterback on calling the protection. And he looks like a rattled, young, confused QB. And it's deeper than just a shoulder injury. This looks like him as a player, the mental aspect of the game. And so Texas looks like funny money, Corey. Texas is in trouble, I think. This team ain't going to the playoff at all. I can say that much more confidently than Penn State. Texas is dangerous with how talented they are, but I don't think these guys week in and week out are going to play like they up to their abilities. And I think this could be a drag of a year if you're a Longhorns fan. This will be a drag of a year, matter of fact. This is looking real rough.
Yeah, and that is the scathing quote that I've heard from you, Chris, from everyone. Even around this area, like they don't look at this team the same way as people looked at them in the preseason. And yeah, I was listening to Matt Berry and Paul Feinbaum on their show, Chris, talk about it. And Matt Berry did make a great point in saying all of the expectations going into the preseason honestly was predicated off of the last name of Arch. And when you look at this team, you lost the opener against Ohio State. It's the number one team in the country. Reigning defending national champion. Let's do what we need to do and win the SEC. You lose to Florida. And now, let's say even before that, you were looking terrible against teams like UTEP. You beat up Sam Houston State. You go into this game and you look just as horrible as you did in the UTEP game. I don't know, Chris. I definitely think you're right. This team is not playoff ready. I know a lot of Texas fans don't want to hear that right now. They do not want to hear that at all. But this team isn't. They aren't playoff ready at all. And yeah, you can look at it and say like, Sark, hung his hat on, wanting to develop these 4 and 5 star high school guys and build them up to make it deep into the playoffs and try to get to a national championship. I think what we're seeing, Chris, and unfortunately, for Texas and their fans, they're seeing that, man, going into the portal, getting some game changers, some guys that can help you along the way, is vital in keeping this team afloat and keeping this team ready for battle each and every week. If you do that, you'll be fine. But relying on a ton of guys fresh out of high school to jail and potentially get you to a national championship, those days are over. Look at Clemson. They got to find that out the hard way. And I think you're about to find that out the hard way as well. This isn't a good Texas team. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Any Texas folks listening in to the show, I think you can also agree as well. And it's unfortunate. And if you're Sark, that's just what you got to live with going forward this season. And it's not going to get any easier as the season progresses.
No, you got the Red River Shootout next. Whether Oklahoma has John Mateer back or not, I don't think matters. You had trouble against this Florida defense that's a really good unit. Good luck against Oklahoma's, who's one of the best units in the nation. That's their bread and butter. And if they got John Mateer back, I don't care if he's rusty or not. Give me a rusty Mateer over this Arch Manning every day, 7 days a week. So it's not looking easy at all by any means. And you have a lot of work to do. And there's a limited time to make it all come together. So this might be that down year, Corey. It's everybody catches one. No matter how good the program is, there's going to be that year where you don't meet expectations. For some programs, it might be lower than others. Or some other programs down year might not be as bad as others. Georgia had a down year and still made the playoffs last season. Alabama had a 9-4 down year last year if you include the bowl loss to Michigan. The way the SEC is looking, your down year could be 7-8 wins this year. It's not easy. It's not easy out here. So we'll see. We're about to learn a whole lot about Sark. He's had things rolling since he's got the pieces, you would say, since they've hit the recruiting trails as well as they have. But sometimes you miss on evals, and guys aren't as good as you thought they were when they came onto campus. So now we're really about to find out about this Texas team and Coach Sark and his staff, because I hate to say it, man, there's still time with Arch, but he ain't got that green gem by his scouted out profile right now, Corey. It's looking like that red ruby at the moment.
With the X on it in the front.
Yeah. It's looking a little bustish. But there's still time to write the story, to right the ship, and we'll see what happens. But it ain't looking good right now, man. It ain't.
Yeah, it definitely isn't looking good right now. If you're a Texas fan, and I think it starts with a lot of things. We can say Arch, and Arch is definitely something. He's definitely a topic of discussion and why they aren't where they need to be at right now. But that offensive line as well, Chris, stinky. Who knew? This is the team that has an NIL fund just for offensive linemen. Just let that be be known. And this is what they tried out on the field. Like, hey, no wonder.
It's bad. It's bad. So you got Oklahoma next. I feel like you still have to go to Mississippi State.
Yes.
And
that's not easy.
It ain't. It ain't. And to piggyback on your point about the portal, I mean, you look at all the teams that hit the portal hard this offseason, they are in solid shape. Texas Tech, it's right there undefeated. LSU has their flaws, but still in the mix. Uh, who else was another big player in the portal? Miami hit the portal hard as well. We see the how the dividends is paying off with that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of teams that hit the portal hard. Florida State was in the portal and has had success this year.
Yep.
Um, you're gonna have to hit that portal. Gotta hit that portal, Jack.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're definitely gonna have to hit the portal because it it can get ugly. It definitely can get ugly before um, it gets better if you don't. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. A lot of football left to be played, Chris. But I think if you're Texas, this is the team that you have, and that's just the way it's going to be if you're a Texas fan.
Yeah, and if you're Florida, Billy Napier, you live to fight another day. Word to the water boy, live to fight another day. Um, I think the inevitable is still going to happen. Personally, you just might be able to see the season through. But it just goes to show though, this team, like you said, Florida doesn't quit. They keep playing very hard for Billy Napier. He may not be the best with the X's and O's at Florida because his offense has had its struggles, but the guys don't quit, and there is talent. And when you have don't quit and talent, you don't have to necessarily be the best at X's and O's. You can still find ways to win just because you got really good players playing very hard for you. And with this true freshman wide receiver that they inserted into the lineup, he looks to be a difference maker. And Florida just got a whole lot more dangerous with him on the field. I ain't saying the Gators are going to win out, Corey. But don't be surprised if they are right there, giving everybody their worst, toughest game of the season. 'Cause Florida's just a tricky team, man. They really can play with anybody.
They really can. They really can. And look, Billy Napier, he can play with any booster in Florida as well. You think you counted me out yet? No, I'm still around. I'm gonna stay around. You'll never get rid of me. You gotta love it.
Yeah. I'm sure that's how he feels. If they can find a way to win 8 games, Corey, I think he might get got if they go 7-5 or 6-6. If he can find a way to get 8 games, I think 8 is that threshold where you can look. You be like, "Come on now, look, I got us 8. One more, we in the playoff. 9-3 in the SEC, we are a playoff team. You gotta give me another year or 2."
Look, I've already said it, Chris, and I will say it again. I think that there will be a 3-loss team in the 12-team playoff this season. It's crazy to think that Florida can become a 3-loss playoff team, but hey, they win the games they need to win. They just keep winning. Why not? Put them in there.
They went out. That means they beat Georgia. Am I mistaken? Don't they have Tennessee on the schedule? Do they have Tennessee on
I think so. Let me check. Let me check. Just for the
they
people
got,
at,
and they
at
got
home.
Florida State.
So
They got some games that definitely boost that resume.
yes, they do. So yeah, they have Tennessee, and that's after going to Ole Miss. Let me tell you something, Chris. If they go on a run, look, coming up this week, we'll talk about this game. They got to go to College Station. I think they're good enough to go toe to toe with the
Mm-hmm.
Aggies. You know, the Aggies
Mm-hmm.
is as good as they looked this past Saturday against Mississippi State. This is a penalty riddled team.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're Florida, if you're Billy Napier, capitalize off of that. You get that win in College Station, huge, huge win, and then you take on Mississippi State. That game's at home. Got the cocktail party. You take care of Georgia. You're starting to cook because then you got
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky at Ole Miss, and then the other two games against Tennessee, Florida State are both at home. You handle your business, Chris.
It's tough. That's tough.
Watching Florida football might be pretty interesting heading into November.
Tough schedule. That's a tough slate of games right there. I'm not anticipating them going 9-3, like winning out. But if they do, you got it. That team is a playoff team. If they win out, and Billy Napier, his job is secure. But we'll sit back and watch, see how it all plays out. My goodness, that's a tough schedule though. But they can win all of those games. As crazy as it is to say, they can win all those games, Corey.
Yeah, I think so too. So yeah, man, we're gonna see what's gonna happen, Chris. I'm excited. Just seeing that makes me excited about Florida football again. Who knew?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, man. We will definitely see what happens indeed. But yeah, this game was interesting. We thought it was going to be an interesting ball game, and boy, it delivered. So we'll see what happens going forward, Chris. But anything else you want to add to this game before we move on?
No, sir.
All right. So we're going to move along, folks. If you're listening in on the show, we appreciate you guys. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what was your favorite game of the week and why. So, yeah. Moving along, though, Chris, other Week 6 results. We had Vanderbilt going to T-Town, Tuscaloosa, and the Fighting Diego Pavias. They were close. They had the opportunities, Chris, but Kalen DeBoer and company, they took care of business and they got their revenge. Sweet, sweet revenge on the
Mm-hmm.
Commodores on Saturday. 30-14. I look at that 30 and I laugh now because that run.
TD with less than a minute left in the game.
look, that was a little bit of that was a little bit of a karma touchdown, right there by the time. Well, let's be honest, that was a little pettiness, into that one. But I thought that was kind of funny to see that. But hey, they took care of business, Chris. They didn't let that win against Georgia, get their heads swollen, and they took care of business against a Vanderbilt team that look, they played really good football. Overall, they got some good players, and hey, they took care of business when they needed to, and they got the W. So, what was your thought? What was your thoughts about this game on Saturday?
You got to give credit to Alabama's defense for stepping up and making big plays, notably in the red zone. When Vandy was on the verge of scoring, that strip fumble when the game was 7-0 Vandy early on, game changer. Vanderbilt wasn't the same after that turnover by Pavia. So you have to give credit to Alabama's defense for stepping up big when needed in this one. And I think Diego Pavia is going to be sick about this one for a while. He let the team down. And you don't want to put the onus, like the whole L on him. But I think he's feeling like he let the team down. Because he had critical, crucial mistakes in the red zone, that fumble when you're on the verge of potentially going up 14-0 on the road and really putting the pressure on Alabama. Also, you right there back in the game Down 6, if I'm not mistaken, Corey, and you throw that interception in the red zone. That's another big one in the second half. You can't have those mistakes. You're not going to beat Alabama making those mistakes, especially on the road. But in general, I don't care who's coaching Alabama. You ain't beat Alabama when you play like that. And as someone who has all the hype surrounding him, and it's been like the face of the team, the face of the program. It's tough coming from your guy to have those turnovers, those plays happen when they happen. Vanderbilt played tough ball, good football, but you're not going to overcome those mistakes, not on the road against the Crimson Tide. So Vandy, still a really good team. You still have a chance of making the playoffs. Don't get too down on yourself after this loss. There's still a lot of football left to be played, and this is a legitimate squad. Um, but yeah, like I said, I give the credit to Alabama though for stepping up, and you you did what needs to be done. I feel like Bama won this game, even though Vandy could have won it. I feel like Bama took the win away from Vandy with the plays they made, especially on defense.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they were getting after Diego Pavia in this game, and he definitely rattled them at times, and like that last interception that he threw, he darted it right in between the hashes, and they took advantage of it. And
Mm-hmm.
hey,
And the receiver was open underneath.
he was.
Look at
He definitely was. So, you could tell this Alabama defense, they were locked and loaded. They didn't let the moment get too big for them from last week, and they wanted to make a statement. This was a statement win, because this Vanderbilt team is a really good team, and they took advantage, and it definitely paid dividends for the Crimson Tide in the end. So shout out to Kalen DeBoer by getting these guys prepared, getting them ready for this game, because hey, had they lost this game, we would be singing a different tune on this show, Chris, and so is the fan base. So shout out to Alabama overall by taking care of business. And hey, look, if you're Diego Pavia, if you're Vanderbilt, no reason to keep your head down for long. You're still a good football team. You can still make some moves. It's just a better team won at the end. So that's all I got.
Agreed. Agreed.
But a great game indeed in this one, Chris. We'll move along. Got a couple more games before we get you good folks out of here. We appreciate you guys listening in. Iowa State versus Cincinnati. Iowa State had to travel to Cincinnati, Chris. I watched this game earlier in the day. This was one of those games. If you didn't know what was going on and you were watching something else, you wouldn't have known that Cincinnati was. They were putting the pause on Iowa State in this one. 38-30 was your final in this one, and now, Chris, I'm not gonna lie, we're gonna have to start talking about Cincinnati as being one of those teams in the Big 12 that can, definitely stir the pot, because they're playing some really good football over there right now.
Yeah. No, credit to Coach Satterfield. I haven't been someone that just looked at him as like one of the better coaches in the Big 12. He's had his flaws. We saw how things went down with his time at Louisville. Now he's at Cincy. His team's coming together. They played some tough football all season long. We saw from the very beginning in the season opener against Nebraska. That game went down to the wire and just was a couple plays away from beating Nebraska. Cincy's legit. And it's always a team that comes out the blue, Corey, in the Big 12. There's always a team that comes out of nowhere. And Cincy looks to be a team that can It's going to cause some havoc, some ruckus this season.
Most definitely, Chris. I was watching this team, man. I like watching Cincinnati play, usually every year, but this team, man, they look pretty good. Brendan Sorsby, a guy that used to be at Indiana, now with the Bearcats, was balling.
They got some receivers.
Yeah. They got some receivers. Look, watch out for Cincinnati. That's all I gotta say, folks. I don't think they're playing. I don't think they're playing around. They could definitely sneak up and bite someone out of nowhere. And hey, I'm just gonna be looking on the other end and be like, "I told you, I told you."
Yep. No, this is it's a dangerous club, dangerous ball club.
Yeah.
And you know, we'll see how things play out. But I think when you look at that schedule, Corey, if you don't mind pulling it up, they look to be in position they can win some games and maybe even steal a couple of wins too. We'll see, depending on how they can play at home. Taking care of business at home will be key.
Absolutely. So I'm looking at it right now, Chris. Your next game, you have UCF, followed by a away game. You got to go to Oklahoma State. They should win that one. At home against Baylor, you got to travel to Utah, and then you got a 2-game home stretch against Arizona and right now BYU, is number 18 in the country, before you finish the season at TCU. So
it's a favorable schedule.
It's a favorable
it could be
schedule.
worse.
Yeah, it could be worse. It could be worse if they can handle their business and win those games. I think they'll be just fine.
You set yourself up for a showdown potentially against Texas Tech. You don't have to play Texas Tech in the regular season. Thank you, Lucky Stars, for that one. You don't have to play Arizona State in the regular season either.
Yeah.
So,
don't get no better than that.
It really doesn't. So I will be interested in seeing how they close the season.
Me too. It's going to get interesting to see how they can, wrap this regular season up in a nice tidy bow before we get to the postseason, Chris. But shout out to Cincinnati, really good football team. Iowa State. Yeah, I think a lot of what we saw from them last season is starting to come back and bite them. So, hey, it's life in the Big 12.
Yep.
So yeah, we had that game, and then our final game, Chris, that we'll talk about. Mississippi State had to travel to Texas A&M. Texas A&M won this game soundly, 31-9. In the first half, Mississippi State looked like the same Mississippi State that went toe to toe against Tennessee. And was playing really good defense. I'm going to say this right now. I think all season long, Mississippi State is going to give teams fits because of this defense. And I'm still of the belief that they'll get someone. But for A&M, you got through with this one. Now you got a big game at home against Florida. That game is probably going to be even louder because you had over 100,000 people in attendance for this game. You know how it's going to be taking on Florida. So, hey, I hope Marcel Reed and them are ready. And I think they will. I think Mike Elko has done a pretty good job with getting those guys prepared in big games. So, but they got to clean up those penalties, Chris, because my goodness.
There's a lot to clean up. I feel like if you're A&M, it seemed like in this game, Mississippi State just didn't have the dogs. No pun intended.
Right.
The bodies, the depth needed to win this one with the battle of the war of attrition.
Yeah.
And State kind of left some points on the field. Devon Booth couldn't stay on his feet and get that initial touchdown in the first half. you force A&M into a goal line stand, and also a Marcel Reed interception. You don't take advantage. The opportunities were there. Mississippi State just couldn't take advantage because of their own deficiencies, especially with the offensive line. That won't be the case for everybody else Texas A&M plays this season in the SEC. Florida has some guys. They will continue to play better opposition, more talented teams. We'll see if A&M can clean these things up because they have as much talent as those teams. But they have to play more disciplined football, and I anticipate that becoming the case because of Mike Elko being the head coach. That's how he moves. That's how he is. This isn't Jimbo Fisher at A&M. This is
Still there, Chris?
so. I do think things will improve for the Aggies.
So yeah. I know you had just dropped out a little bit, but yeah, as a kind of what you were saying, of course, yeah, like this team has A&M has vastly improved year over year with Mike Elko, and hey, I think we can finally say that this is a pretty good Texas A&M team. Are they where they fully need to be at? No. Like me and you have mentioned, they got to get those penalties cleaned up at some point of the season. Just because if they want to go far, that's what they got to do in order to make it to a playoff and make it far and try to get into a national championship. Those penalties, that could really rear its ugly head as we go more and more into the season. So if they can do that and shore up a couple other things defensively, even though I think their defensive line is really, really good. Those guys play in the box hard and strong, Chris. Like they can get you.
Them boys a problem up front.
Yeah,
they are.
Like it just as Blake Shapen. Talk about a guy that got sacked about 4 or 5 times in the game, if not more. Yeah, they're very aggressive players out there on defense for A&M. So yeah, but overall, yeah, like you said, Chris, we'll see what happens with the Aggies. But a great win to still keep this thing rolling over there in College Station. It sucked for Mississippi State, potentially losing Fluff Bothwell. As right now, as we're recording this, we don't know what his status is, but he did go down with a gruesome leg or ankle injury. We're thinking this is ankle in that ball game. So hopefully, he can make a speedy recovery because, man, you're Mississippi State. You need all the players you need in order to make it far. And just for State, they get unlucky a lot of times.
Yeah, you can't afford these injuries to these guys. These some of your top playmakers. Someone you really invested a lot getting out the portal. A Fluff. He's a key piece of this offense, and he really was emerging as a star for this team. So hopefully it's nothing too serious, and he can recover timely, speedy recovery. But if you're Mississippi State, Corey, I almost feel like you kind of you're mad at yourself for not investing in this O-line. This offensive line was much better. I think you're 5-1. There's a chance that game plays out differently. I'm not saying you win it for sure, but that offensive line is the reason you was getting out the mud all night offensively.
Yeah. I think the reason why they are 4-2 right now is because of the offensive line. And I'm sure if you are Jeff Lebby, You're already thinking about, man, like I can't wait to get into the portal and just get a bunch of quality offensive linemen, tackles, you name it, out there that can help aid into this offense. Because man, we can get some guys of quality. Yeah, we like you said, Chris, we could be 5-1. Who knows? 6-0 at this point of the season. So I'm sure that's going to be definitely a topic of concern, a big need going into this transfer portal cycle once we get there. And yeah, we'll definitely be following along with it as the season kind of winds down. We get towards that time.
Agreed.
So yeah, but yeah, that was week 6, folks. Before we get ready to go over our chief of the week, of course, Chris. What's going on in North Carolina? We get we had North Carolina and Clemson. The fans left out of the stadium before the second quarter, pretty much.
Hey man, Bill Belichick might be. I don't know how long he's going to want to, see this one through. We might be lucky to get a year 2 out of him. This is bad.
It's really bad. It is an all-time just bad performance from North Carolina, and I don't know how you get out of that, Chris. But I just had to mention that before we head out of here on today's show because.
He put a stain to his name sticking around for this. He ain't happy with this.
No, he didn't. He didn't look, man. He could have stayed at home. Him and his girlfriend could have, rowed boats somewhere in Miami somewhere. Just had a great time. He had to do all of this. You're ruining your legacy, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks. Mm-hmm. It sucks, man. And look, we grew up watching Bill Belichick. And his offenses, just seeing all of these championships that he had won with the Patriots, and just to see that come to this, man, it's a night and day. I'll tell you that much in terms of coaching. But yeah, I just had to mention that, Chris, before we talk about Chief of the Week for Week 6 of the college football season. I gotta go ahead, Chris. My Chief of the Week goes to none other than DJ Lagway. Yes, folks. I can finally do this. I was so happy to do this, Chris. I could do a backflip. Finally giving DJ Lagway Chief of the Week for Week 6 of the college football season. He was 21 for 28, 298 yards through the air. Threw 2 touchdowns. He did also throw 1 interception, and overall he did end the game through that with a 94.9 QBR rating, Chris. So just a heck of a performance from DJ Lagway, and just a heck of a performance from Florida themselves. That team was balling, and hey, why not give DJ Lagway a little credit by being Chief of the Week for this week?
Yeah, he was getting the ball to his guys and then letting them make plays. And, for him to be as accurate as he was is a big step in the right direction for DJ, because he's had his troubles. Accuracy has been a big problem for him this season. So this was a much needed game performance for DJ and his confidence as the season continues.
Absolutely. So yeah. Like we said, Chris, he needed that confidence. I think this could potentially be a start for DJ Lagway in Florida in trying to make some noise in the SEC race going forward. They're not officially out of it. It's kind of funny to think about all of the games they've lost. Florida's not mathematically out of the SEC race at all. So.
It's one conference loss.
Yeah. Just one conference loss. So they could definitely peak at the right time. And who knows? Maybe this could be it. So we'll see what happens, of course, Chris. But overall, a great week 6 of the college football season. And, it wasn't too crazy. Yeah, I mean, outside of what happened in California and a couple other places. But it was an interesting week as well, Chris. I always rag on people when they say, "Oh, this is a weak week." This isn't like last week or the next couple weeks coming. Great college football that we got over the weekend, so it's going to get even spicier, even juicier as we get into week 7.
Yes, sir. No, the chaos will only continue to brew, and the stakes will only get higher. So it will continue to be gifted from the college football gods and these teams. The college football is a gift that keeps on giving. You never know what to expect on any given Saturday.
Absolutely. So yeah, man, another great show, my brother. I always appreciate you, sticking around here and with us talking about college football, the crazy world of college football. Got a couple outros before we head out of here on today's show. I'll start off with you, Chris. Let the good folks know where they can find you on social media.
Yes, sir. You can find me on X, or as I call it, Twitter, at Chris_Bolton_12. And on Instagram at Chris.Bolton_. Holla at your boy.
Awesome. And yeah, folks, you can find me on X at Listen to KSW. I'm on there talking college football, professional wrestling, all of that great jazz. So yeah, definitely follow me on there. But yeah, guys, we appreciate you all listening to the show. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to all of our social media platforms that we're on. We very much appreciate you guys' support. And we'll be back coming up this Friday with another episode where we'll be talking about week 7 of the college football season, giving our predictions, Chris and I. And we'll also have some bets for you lovely folks out there as well. You're trying to see what you can do. Get the money line this week, of course. So yeah, definitely follow the show, follow all of our social media applications, and yeah, we'll definitely be back with another episode. But until next time, I'm Corey Willis. He's Chris Bolton. You are listening to the Breakdown Sportscast. We will chat with y'all later. Peace.